Hey, my friends, thanks for tuning in. Today we are going to revisit the landlord tenant rent stabilized buyout and sweeping regulations that have been passed this July in 2019 in New York City. So, this article here, published on Curbed, is Landlord Group claims rent laws violate U.S. Constitution in lawsuit. The complaint says that owners are deprived of their rights to use, possess, dispose, and execute others from their property, which is the 14th Amendment. 1 month after lawmakers passed a package of landmark bills to strengthen the state's rent laws and protect New York tenants, landlord groups filed a federal lawsuit to stop their implementation early. Federal complaint was filed by a landlord group and the property owners, including Rent Stabilization Association (RSA), which is a association of owners who own rent stabilized buildings, and Community Housing Improvements Program, against the City of New York Rent Guideline Board. So, in this lawsuit, they're claiming they originally claimed that this lawsuit, the rent stabilization laws, affected them even before this happened. Where laws are being passed where they cannot remove persons from their property, and it's their right to have full ownership of their property. One one law that was passed in this recent round of law change was you used to be able to take rent stabilized units and give it to a family member or yourself, so you could come and occupy it if someone else needed it in that circumstance, and that has been taken away. So that they're saying that specific law, that clause that say, hey, if Joe Smith or Sally Sue, who's your landlord, wants your apartment, it's rent stabilized, if they are going to personally occupy it, then they have the right to do so. And they're saying that this specific clause in this new round of regulation is violating the 14th Amendment. In addition, there is also another clause in there, which is saying before you were allowed to offer a buyout to the tenants if they wanted to stay. For instance, if you wanted to go condo or cooperative, now there's a change where 51% of the tenants must be able to agree to make this conversion. So this kind of takes a lot of power out of the landlord's hands and a lot of their freedom about what to do with their property. This was not the case before. You could just say you're going to sell the building and you can offer them a fair buyout. And if they take it, great, they can stay there and own the property. If they don't, they have to leave. And furthermore, they're stating that these limitations are not, as we talked about before, in line with the increasing costs of maintaining a building, and they are actually hurting some of the housing problem in New York. Being like, yes, you're saving rent stabilized units, but the other people in the building are actually supporting these rent stabilized tenants, and paying a much higher rate. So that's why market rate apartments are much higher. And to wrap it up, the lawsuit, the counter argument to this lawsuit is saying that, hey, listen, these groups have so much profit that they're taking on this huge lawsuit against the state with the Rent Stabilized Association and groups of landlords that, listen, this is how much money they have. It's not like they're hurting for money. They're petitioning to bring this lawsuit against the state of New York within 2 weeks. That's not a cheap ordeal. So this was passed by Cuomo, and the last quote from the New York's attorney in charge of the civil reform unit at the Legal Aid Society says, "We see this meritless lawsuit for what it is, a last-ditch effort to retain disproportionate power these landlords held that allow them to harass, displace, and unduly profit off the most vulnerable tenants in New York." listen, I'm a big fan of having affordable housing in a city. I think it's really important for certain people to have affordable housing. Also, that you need low income workers to take jobs to service cities. It's just a fact without having to go 40, 50, 60, an hour and a half to get to your job. It's just, you need affordable housing. At the same time, I totally agree with that. There's a lot of, I wouldn't call bad actors, but people who manipulate the system for their benefit. All right. I personally know certain people who don't get jobs because they're on unemployment or they're on disability from the city, and they're also packing lots of people into these rent stabilized apartments. They don't have to work because the rent is so low, and they understand the tenant protections where they'll come and they'll put five, six, seven of their family members in a one bedroom apartment. And then if that person dies, everyone has rights to it. So this apartment will never get deregulated. Also, these apartments get worn down and you can't do work in there. And that you can't get them to leave ever either, because once they leave, they're out, and you can't do the proper renovations to maintain your property. So let me know what you think about this one. Do you think the landlords have a case here? Do you think that they are just trying to pull back these laws for their own benefit? I'd like to hear what you say. Comment below. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and pass it along to your friends. All right, have a nice day. Bye.